Hey, hello, leaders. This is Paul Grau Jr., and welcome back to Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So today, I want to talk about leadership and empathy. And I want to share with you something that I heard a couple years ago from the best-selling author, New York Times best-selling author, Jon Acuff. And he explained leadership empathy in a way that I had never heard before, and it is amazing. So we're going to go back in the vault, back to season 1, episode 72. And here it is. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Hello. Have you ever been called an empathetic leader? How did that make you feel? Good? Bad? Indifferent? Did you even know? Well, I recently heard somebody talk about empathy, and the way he defined it really had a profound impact on the way I'll look at it for the rest of my life. Today's challenge will talk about that definition and why being an empathetic leader will always lead to action. Let's talk about today's challenge and how leadership empathy always leads to action. Today's challenge was inspired by the New York Times best-selling author, Jon Acuff. Now, Jon was talking about how we can all do more together when we help parents more intentionally at home. And he mentioned something about empathy. As Jon continued, he talked about the importance of being empathetic towards parents' needs. And then he dropped the bombshell that really made me sit back and say, that is good. It was a great definition, and it was one that, when applied to leadership, it will always result in the leader taking action. Jon's definition was kind of in a form of an equation, and it went like this. He said that empathy equals understanding what they need and then acting on it. Now, you see what I mean? You cannot complete that definition of empathy without action. Let me repeat it. He said that empathy equals understanding what they need plus acting on it. Now, empathy is not just listening to somebody, or it's not just feeling what they feel, or it's not just explaining to others how somebody feels. No, empathy is understanding and taking action. And you know what? That is leadership at its finest. I mean, think about it. With all the talk nowadays about emotional intelligence and servant leadership, heck, that definition of empathy hits on both of them and really hits to the core of exactly what your people need. Now, if you are described as an empathetic leader, it means that you are a catalyst, that you're a mover and a shaker, that you get things done. And not only some things, you get what needs to be done. Does that make sense? So I decided to look up the definition of empathy in a dictionary. And lo and behold, according to Merriam-Webster's online app dictionary on my phone, empathy is defined as the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experience the feelings, thoughts, and experiences of another. Now, I don't know about that whole other half of the vicariously experiencing the feelings and all that, but did you catch that first statement? The action of understanding. How cool is that? Did you ever even know that understanding was an action? I didn't, but that's pretty cool, right? Hey, the point is, I love Jon's equation definition of empathy, and I think it goes right along with James 1:22 that basically says, don't only listen to the word, but do what it says. James 2:14 through 26 goes a step further and says, faith without deeds is useless. Now, when you compare that scripture to the definition of empathy, you cannot know and understand what empathy is without taking action on it. Well, I guess you can do nothing, but your knowledge would simply be useless then. Do you want to be known as a useless leader? Of course not. So the moral of today's challenge is for you to take action on what you know your people need. Leaders, whether they claim to be empathetic or not, know and understand what many of their team members need. And now it's your responsibility to take action on that knowledge and do what you know needs to be done. Well, that gives you something to think about today. I want to thank Jon Acuff once again for inspiring today's leadership challenge and everyone who puts on the Orange Conference. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, please share this briefing with your coworkers, your HR directors, and your CEOs, and talk to them directly about having me come in, possibly to your organization, to do some leadership training. Feel free to contact me directly at Paul Grau, that's Paulgrau, at currentleadershipcoaching.com. Thank you, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges.